It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 8th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. The high going to be 49. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy. Low 37, and then Friday, morning clouds, afternoon rain, but the high is going to be 51. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 36 partly cloudy in Sleepy Hollow up in Westchester County. It's 39 and clear in Toms River over in New Jersey, and it's 37 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Reaction continues to pour in from a deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis. One of Mayor Mamdani's aides breaks down in tears. LIRR riders enraged over a new ticket policy. Animal lovers enraged at a Queens man over how he was walking his dogs. And a high school, a local one at that, has a championship sports team that has never stepped onto a field. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Leaders in Minneapolis have identified the woman killed during an ICE operation in Minneapolis yesterday as 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. And federal and local officials offering really sharply different accounts of the shooting. The fatal shooting occurred during an ICE enforcement operation in South Minneapolis. This according to the Department of Homeland Security, which said agents were attempting to make arrests when Good tried to use her vehicle as a weapon against officers, prompting a federal agent to fire in self-defense through the window of her car. Good was pronounced dead after being hit by a bullet. The agent involved has not been publicly identified, and the incident, they say, remains under investigation. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she jetted off to Minneapolis yesterday, says the woman shot during that operation was stalking immigration enforcement officers.
The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues.
During this press conference yesterday, Noem said the incident was preventable and that an agent who shot and killed the woman has been treated at a hospital and released. She also added that that same ICE agent had been previously involved in a separate incident in which he was rammed and dragged by a vehicle last year.
The very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June. He sustained injuries at that time as well.
And Noem warned the protesters that took to the streets in Minneapolis, here in New York as well, that the president will not let things get out of hand in Minneapolis.
I say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations. Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation.
Now, as we said, there are sharply different accounts of what took place yesterday. The Democratic mayor of Minneapolis, enraged by the ICE shooting. Mayor Jacob Frey says he's dreaded this moment since ICE was deployed to his city.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Frey says DHS trying to spin the incident as an action of self-defense. Homeland Security deployed over 2,000 ICE agents to the Twin Cities in what it was calling the largest DHS operation ever. Mayor Frey pushing back on Homeland Security, saying the ICE agent who shot that woman was not necessarily acting in self-defense.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull.
And the mayor addressed his community as people took to the streets there yesterday.
We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love.
Governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, he was speaking out yesterday, says he's activated the State Emergency Operations Center. He urged the ongoing protests to remain peaceful.
We've been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt.
And he says he doesn't want any help from the federal government as they deal with these demonstrations that are definitely going to continue today.
What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life.
And the governor, just like the mayor addressing the community itself yesterday, this was last night.
Donald Trump and his administration may not care much about Minnesota. That's been pretty evident. But we love this state. We won't let them tear us apart. We'll not turn against each other.
And, of course, everybody responding to this. House Speaker Mike Johnson urging Minneapolis citizens to remain calm. The Republican telling reporters last night that he had viewed what he called the disturbing video and that it was a very sad outcome.
It appears to, I guess, anybody who sees the video from certain angles that the driver of the vehicle weaponized that vehicle against law enforcement officers and against bystanders. It was a dangerous situation.
The House Speaker blaming the shooting. He says it's as a result of anti-law enforcement rhetoric and people encouraging this kind of violence.
We call upon all the citizens of Minneapolis to be calm. We don't want anyone to be hurt. We need law enforcement to be able to do their jobs, and it's a terrible situation. It's wrong for people to jump to these conclusions without a full investigation. You have to find out the facts on the ground, and I think that will happen.
Okay, so that was in the House. Over in the Senate, you had Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying that the video of this ICE agent shooting and killing a woman in Minneapolis turned his stomach.
Well, I've never been for ICE going into our cities, period. It doesn't belong there.
Of course, political reaction to the shooting continues to be split pretty much down party lines.
Well, of course, there should never be violence, but there should be protest is an American right. And when things like this happen, people feel the need to protest and their right to do it. We salute them doing it.
And they were doing that last night here in the city. Demonstrations filled Foley Square for what immigration advocates in the city called an emergency rally in response to the shooting in Minneapolis.
Are we outraged enough? No! We're not. We must be much more outraged than we already are. We haven't begun to scratch the surface of how outraged we must be.
The demonstrators, they marched to the doorstep of 26 Federal Plaza. That's the Department of Homeland Security headquarters here in New York.
What happened today was a tragedy. And I think one of the most tragic parts was that I was not shocked to see the headline. That they have normalized this. It is just a continuation in the escalation of force that they are using against the communities that they claim to protect.
And Mayor Mamdani, he held a press conference last night addressing this issue, said that he had campaigned to uphold sanctuary city laws here in New York and will continue with his promise not to cooperate with ICE.
The news coming out of Minneapolis is horrific. And this is a city and will always be a city that stands up for immigrants across the 5 boroughs. And I have made it clear to everyone within my city government, and that extends to NYPD, that we are going to uphold our sanctuary city policies. We are going to adhere to them.
All right. Well, of course, as more comes in on the shooting in Minneapolis, we will pass that on to you. WABC News Time, 5:09. A manhunt underway for the person or persons who killed 2, injured 6 others outside a church in Utah yesterday. Authorities say a funeral was taking place at a Mormon church in Salt Lake City when some sort of fight broke out in the parking lot, and that's when shots were fired at a group of people.
This should never have happened. This should never have happened outside a place of worship. It should not have happened at a celebration of life that was occurring inside of the church.
That's the Salt Lake Mayor, Aaron Mendenhall. Of those injured, 3 in critical condition this morning. The names of the victims and motive for the shooting just don't know yet.
We are following all leads. Our officers are working hard, and we will work until we bring these individuals to justice.
And Salt Lake City Police praising the officers who rushed towards this danger yesterday.
Because this was called out as an active shooter, that's what elicited the type of response.
Now, the Salt Lake Police don't believe this was a targeted attack against Mormons. They think it had more to do with this fight in the parking lot, but so far they don't have a whole lot more details. They're still searching for that gunman. 5:10, let's bring it back home. The woman accused in the random stabbing of a mom in Macy's and Herald Square has been indicted now.
The Manhattan District Attorney's Office says Carrie Ahern faces multiple charges, including attempted murder, assault, and endangering the welfare of a child. It was back on December 11th inside of a bathroom at Macy's flagship store before when the 43-year-old woman randomly knifed another woman. Prosecutors say the 39-year-old victim, a mom visiting from California, was changing her baby's diaper at the time. Thankfully, the child wasn't hurt. Ahern had just been released earlier that day from a New York psych ward where she'd been held for more than a year after threatening to kill Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Let's head over to New Jersey, where a deer hunt starts today in reservations in Essex County in order to lower the population. West Orange Councilwoman Joyce Rudin, she's with the organization Our Green West Orange, opposes the hunt, saying that there are other population control methods that could be used here.
Bringing hunting into a residential community not only endangers family, it turns a peaceful environment, which is our reservation, into a place of fear.
Officials are shutting down the South Mountain Reservation, Hilltop Reservation, Cedar Park Grove, these beautiful parks, by the way, and all parking and paths areas to the public on the days of the hunt for safety reasons.
There are other safer, more humane ways to deal with the deer population, and foremost that involves using birth control methods.
All right, but the hunt will take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays running through mid-February. The deer meat, that'll be donated to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. The homeless count, which they do every single year, it's about to happen here in New York City.
The HOPE survey is the city's effort to get a clearer count on people who are living on city streets and to help them connect with services, shelter, and support. Molly Wasso Park is commissioner of the Department of Social Services, and she tells New York One just how important this survey is.
The HOPE count is one of the biggest nights of the year for us. More than 2,000 volunteers come together and fan out all across the city.
The overnight survey takes place on Tuesday, January 27th, and you can sign up to volunteer at nyc.gov/hope. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
It seems like so much of the world is focused on Minnesota, of course, because of this awful shooting yesterday and because of the Somali daycare scandal. And yesterday, the White House says the people of Minnesota no longer back Democratic Governor Tim Walz. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt commented on Walz's decision to end his bid for a third term as governor.
I think Tim Walz probably dropped out of the race because he realizes he no longer has the support of the people of his own state, which is a remarkable downfall considering he was the number 2 on the Democrat Party's ticket just about a year ago.
Walz pointed to the ongoing health care fraud scandal in his state as a reason for his decision to drop out of the race.
When it comes to Minnesota, the fraud that we have seen, the wide scale of fraud is really remarkable. It's egregious.
5:13, the Trump administration says the latest seizure of 2 Venezuela-linked oil tankers is having its intended effect on the Venezuelan government. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says current Venezuelan leadership has asked to work with the U.S. to get the oil back, and he laid the plan for the country out to them.
We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts Venezuela was getting. That money will then be handled in such a way that we will control how it is dispersed in a way that benefits the Venezuelan people, not corruption, not the regime.
Now, the Secretary of State says the positive outcome in this case is because it shows leadership there in Venezuela and knows that they have to work with the Trump administration to get things back up and running again.
The second phase will be a phase that we call recovery, and that is ensuring that American, Western, and other companies have access to the Venezuelan market in a way that's fair. Also, at the same time, begin to create the process of reconciliation nationally within Venezuela so that the opposition forces can be amnestied and released. The third phase, of course, will be one of transition. Some of this will overlap. I've described this to them in great detail. We'll have more detail in the days to follow.
And the U.S. is striking oil deals with the current leadership in Venezuela. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirming to reporters that interim authorities in Venezuela have agreed to turn over between 30 million to 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S. And that's raising the profile of energy policy in this country. Energy Secretary Chris Wright says the Trump administration's plans for the oil are right for America. He spoke yesterday at the Goldman Sachs Energy Utility Utilities Conference in Miami.
This is the crude that's backed up in onshore storage and that's in offshore floating storage. We're just going to get that crude moving again and sell it, just like we did in our businesses.
And that news getting a round of applause at that conference in Miami yesterday. In a moment, we'll head over to Greenland, which of course is in the news. Will we buy the country? Will we take it by force? We'll get into that story in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start here on the hardwood last night. Karl Anthony Towns at the Garden had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and a season-high 7 assists. Jalen Brunson scored 26 points, and the Knicks snapped their 4-game losing streak with a 123-111 victory over the LA Clippers. OG Anunoby added 20 points, and Deuce McBride had 16 for the Knicks, who had a 24-7 run starting late in the third quarter and extending into the fourth to turn a 4-point deficit into a 105-92 advantage. Up next for the Knicks, they'll visit Phoenix tomorrow to start a 4-game road trip. In Brooklyn, the Nets lost 104-103 nail-biter to the visiting Magic. Michael Porter Jr. led Brooklyn with 34 points, and Igor Demin had 18. Up next for Brooklyn, they'll host the aforementioned Clippers tomorrow night. Triple header on the ice tonight to look forward to. All 3 local squads returning to action. Rangers at 7 p.m. will welcome in Buffalo Sabres. Also at 7, the Devils are out in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. And later on at 8 p.m., the Islanders will get going out in Nashville against the Predators. And college football playoff, that's picking up tonight, 7:30 p.m. 10-seed Miami going up against 6-seed Ole Miss in the semifinal at the Fiesta Bowl for the right to play either Oregon or Indiana. That semifinal is tomorrow night in the national championship game, so we'll be watching that very closely. And that's your Sports Know. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC news time is 5:08. That's all right. GOP lawmakers reacting after the White House said it's not ruling out using the military in its desire to control Greenland. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's not sure that taking it by force would be appropriate.
I think Greenland is viewed by a lot of people as something that would be a strategic positioning for the U.S. I don't know how it develops from there. It's not on my things to do list, but we'll have to see how that goes.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that gaining control of the Danish territory is a national security priority for the U.S. and that the administration is discussing options for acquiring it. You had Republican Senator Rand Paul, of course, from Kentucky, says he would not like to see military invasion, but isn't against just buying Greenland outright.
We had the Louisiana purchase. We had the purchase of Alaska. It'd be great if Greenland were part of America through a purchase agreement.
And the Kentucky Republican says the U.S. will not get Greenland on board by insulting its residents.
I'm not against approaching Greenland in a voluntary way to say, hey, the United States would like you to be part of the United States if you so wish it, and then it would be a possibility. But right now, I think it's been going the wrong direction.
And South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, he was asked if he thinks the president should use or will use military force in Greenland.
Greenland is of strategic importance to our needs in the Arctic. We have a good relationship with Greenland. I think it can be made better. We have a military base in Greenland. The Russians and the Chinese are all over that place.
All right, 5:20. Let's go out from Washington over to Los Angeles, where Nick Reiner's arraignment on murder charges is going to be delayed now till February. The Los Angeles County District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, believes that Reiner will face justice in the end.
We are fully confident that a jury will convict Nick Reiner beyond a reasonable doubt of the brutal murders of his parents.
So the delay comes after Reiner's attorney, Alan Jackson, just unexpectedly withdrew from the case yesterday. The 32-year-old's charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle. They were found dead in their Brentwood home back on December 14th. Nick Reiner's now ex-attorney says his former client is not guilty of murder.
And you can take this to the bank. Pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Now, print that.
Okay, we will. Alan Jackson says that he withdrew from the case due to circumstances that were beyond his control, but he still says he believes that Nick Reiner should not be found guilty.
We're not just convinced. We know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case.
All right, so Reiner, whose arraignment was scheduled for yesterday until he lost his attorney, going to be represented by a public defender now, the 32-year-old facing 2 counts of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of his parents. While we're out in Los Angeles, or at least in California for that matter, police say they are working on a murder mystery, and now they're just going to go to court. During the height of the pandemic, a woman in San Diego just vanished. Now, 5 years later, her husband awaits trial. Maya Millete was last seen at her home. Her husband, Larry, now has been charged with her murder, but her body's never been found. Maya's sister says the family just wants answers. They want to know where she is.
We're still asking the public, please help us bring my sister home. We will, my please. I still want to see my sister.
Yeah, they still don't know what happened to her, but prosecutors say they're convinced that she's dead.
He's been with us for 20 years. My sister did love him. She gave him 3 kids. She just can't let go.
Now her husband, Larry Millete, is set to begin trial in early March. The Eaton fire survivors in California, they were speaking out yesterday, 1-year anniversary of losing their homes. In some cases, they lost their loved ones. Joy Chen of the Eaton Fire Survivors Network says the fire has had several secondary consequences for these families.
This fire didn't just decimate homes. It decimated affordable housing in the area, causing rents to double or triple.
Yeah, so few people have been able to rebuild. Some of it has to do with just red tape, and then insurance companies haven't paid out or been slow to pay out. Rose Robinson, who lost her home last year, describes what the last year has been like for her and her family.
It's hard. I can't even explain my loss. I felt like my feet have not been on the ground. I felt like I'm moving in a cloud. It feels so unreal.
Yeah, I bet it does. A reality show turned Palisades crusader wants to be the next mayor of Los Angeles. He's one of the people that lost his home in the fire last year.
That's why I am running for mayor. And let me be clear, this just isn't a campaign. This is a mission.
That's Spencer Pratt. You remember his reality show. Lost his home last year, has been vocal about possible corruption that led to the fire being so devastating. He said he reached out to Florida Senator Rick Scott, who has now helped him launch a federal investigation into the fires, and he says all this investigation and behind-the-scenes work that he has done has motivated him to run for office there.
We're going into every dark corner of LA politics and disinfecting this city with our light. And when we are done, LA is going to be camera ready again.
Now that's why Pratt says he's going to run for mayor in Los Angeles. 524. Flu cases, they continue to surge nationwide, and fewer Americans are getting vaccinated.
The CDC says about 130 million people have gotten a flu shot so far this season, down sharply from pandemic-era levels, and the U.S. is now seeing its highest flu activity in at least 25 years. 19 states are reporting very high respiratory illness levels with at least 11 million cases, 120,000 hospitalizations, and 5,000 deaths so far. Doctors say cases jumped more than 30% during Christmas week and warn that the peak of flu season is likely still ahead. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Well, we're talking to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announcing a shakeup of dietary guidelines for Americans. Kennedy's plan aims to completely cut out added sugars, prioritize protein, push vegetables and fruit, reduce the intake of highly processed products, eat more whole foods, and end the war on saturated fats.
These guidelines replace corporate-driven assumptions with common sense goals and gold standard scientific integrity.
Now, he says with his announcement, the old lies from the government about what are healthy foods will stop. The new guidelines will impact the food that's fed to American children and meant to combat chronic disease in the U.S.
This pivot also leans into the abundant, affordable, and healthy food supply already available from America's incredible farmers and ranchers. By making milk, raising cattle, and growing wholesome fruit fruits, vegetables, and grains. They hold the key to solving our national health crisis.
That's another member of the health department who says that healthier food options will be made more affordable so everyday Americans can make sure they can buy them.
Very soon, we will be finalizing that rule that will mandate all 250,000 retailers in America double the type of staple foods that they provide for America's SNAP households. This means healthier options will be in reach for all American families.
And a cardiologist is offering tips on lowering your cardiac age if it's on the higher side. Luke Laffin is with the Cleveland Clinic, and he says cardiac age is established using tests involving blood pressure, cholesterol, and other factors.
Instead of saying something like, you have a 12% 10-year risk of a stroke or heart attack, we can say, your heart looks more like that of a 66-year-old, even though you're 50, for example.
Cardiac age is a way of expressing cardiovascular risk by translating it into an age equivalent. He says improving cardiac age includes losing weight, eating healthier foods, exercise, all the stuff that you need to do. Oh, and get enough sleep. That's always important as well.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 8th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. The high going to be 49. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 37. And then Friday, morning clouds, afternoon rain, the high 51. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 36 and partly cloudy in Sleepy Hollow up in Westchester County, 39 and clear in Toms River over in New Jersey, and it's 37 and clear right outside our Midtown studio. 538. A former urgent care doctor in Queens who pled guilty to sexually abusing 5 patients, including a minor. He was sentenced in court yesterday, but people are outraged by the fact that he was not given any jail time. Prosecutors say Amir Sitafalwala groped several patients, made inappropriate comments toward them on multiple occasions that date back all the way to 2017. 2 of the victims, they gave impact statements during this hearing before a judge yesterday, including one who called it enraging betrayal to be sexually assaulted by someone you trust that you're seeing for medical care, who ends up instead doing damage to your lifestyle. Stifawala, who's now stripped of his medical license, looked on during the sentencing hearing as these victims described some of the horrific abuse that they suffered at his hands. The judge listened to all that, and then she sentenced him to 6 years of probation and level 2 offender status. Now, the attorney for 2 of the victims say they're really disappointed the district attorney did not push for a much harsher punishment.
Our clients would have preferred to see some jail time. It has destroyed them. My clients are married. It has impacted their marital relationships. It's impacted their personal relationships. So it's had a tremendous strain on their personal lives.
Sitafalwala had pled guilty to sexually assaulting 5 patients. One was just 17 years old. While there are 5 victims on record in the case, prosecutors believe there are likely more out there. And that's even more what's enraging these attorneys that are representing these victims.
We want accountability. We want accountability not just from Dr. Sitafalwala, but his employers. So this is another avenue for accountability.
Yeah. So 2 victims now bringing civil suits against Sitafalwala and Modern MD in Woodhaven, alleging he should have never been hired, as he had already been fired from another urgent care facility after complaints of abuse from patients there, which is now under investigation by the health department. 541, Mayor Mamdani defending one of his appointees as questions are raised about her past social media posts. Mamdani appointed 37-year-old Sia Weaver, a tenant organizer, to his Office of Tenant Protection on Inauguration Day. She's a Democratic socialist, just like Mamdani. And when they did a scrub of her social media posts, they found some interesting things. Back in 2019, she called home ownership a weapon of white supremacy masquerading as wealth-building public policy. In another Twitter post, she said, seize private property. And then in 2022, she wrote, tax the rich, invest the public good, and stop all evictions and fund safe, stable housing for all. So the mayor was defending Weaver yesterday.
I think the core issue at hand here is, what are we hiring this person to do? We are hiring them to stand up for tenants in a way that we haven't seen before, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Now, last month, Mamdani accepted the resignation of his appointments director after a series of her anti-Semitic post service dating back more than 10 years. He said that is different from this one. So far, he's not calling for her resignation.
I accepted Kat DaCosta's resignation. Sia Weaver is someone that we hired to stand up for tenants across the city based on the track record that she had.
Now, Sia Weaver took to New York One last night and expressed regret about her past social media posts.
You know, those are certainly regretful tweets and not something that I would say today.
And the mayor was busy also making appointments yesterday, attending events, signing executive orders. He named Christine Clark yesterday as his head of the Commission on Human Rights.
CCHR has done the vital work of protecting human rights in our city, of delivering justice. And that work has never been more important. The intent of this position is to ensure compliance with the law. And that also means doing proactive outreach to small businesses such that they know what the rules are, as opposed to levying fine and fee.
And during this announcement yesterday, the mayor again asked about the crime numbers, which there was a huge drop in 2025. And will he continue to do what Mayor Adams did, work with the NYPD?
I want to see these numbers continue to drop, to continue to nurture the partnership between the NYPD and the communities across the city, and to empower our police force to focus on the serious crimes.
And then later in the afternoon...
Wait a second. So if that's all true, then why did he try to demote my friend, the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, at the beginning of the week?
Well, the person you really need to talk to about that is Jessica Tisch.
I have.
To get the whole real story.
Well, I have.
But she hasn't given you the whole real story.
Well, she's given me the whole real story.
When are you going to give us the whole real story?
When I feel like it.
Okay.
Just trust me when I tell you that son of a bitch tried to demote her. Just trust me.
All right.
I don't care what she
told
says.
You that?
Well, I didn't say that. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't.
Why are you being so evasive about giving us an answer about that?
Because I'm not sure she is or she isn't, but let's play your game and let's say she is. Because she wants to make sure that the relationship between her and the mayor moving forward is on steady ground so she can do her job. If
so she's going to let this go?
She's going to let this go. But I am here to tell all of you in this audience that no matter what you hear on the news, no matter what Mamdani says, and even my friend Jessica, he's lying. He tried to demote her. Something happened. Somebody got in his ear, and it didn't happen. But he tried. So if you took the under 6 months for Jessica Tisch to walk off the job, I would say you're looking pretty good right now.
All right, even though she was willing to let this thing go, which is a pretty big deal.
Well, she'll let this one go. Listen, after 2 or 3 times, you stop letting it go. It's like President Trump was so nice, so cordial to this punk Mamdani in the Oval Office, but already twice this week between Mamdani jumping on Trump for the capture of drug dealer Maduro, and now yesterday Mamdani sympathizing with the woman who tried to run over an ICE agent. President Trump, his patience is going to wear out very, very quickly. And Jessica Tisch is in the same boat.
All right. Meanwhile, Mayor Mamdani meeting with dozens of content creators yesterday. First ever kind of new media conference aimed at discussing his affordability agenda, going through social media platforms. So these are like, big time social media influencers that he invited to City Hall yesterday, 70 of them at City Hall.
Social media is the medium through which they understand not just their life, but the struggles of their life. It's important to also take this message out to New York City, as well as bring the rest of New York City in to this same building. All of you in this room are how they start their days and how they end their days.
Yeah, so he pushed the journalists out of what is normally the room where the journalists get to ask them a question and brought the social media influencers in yesterday. 5:46, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Eller.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. Start here at the Garden on the hardwood. Carl Anthony Towns had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and a season-high 7 assists. Jalen Brunson scored 26 points, and the Knicks snapped their 4-game losing streak with a 123-111 victory over the LA Clippers. OG Anunoby added 20 points, and Deuce McBride had 16 for the Knicks, who had a 24-7 run starting late in the third quarter and extending into the fourth to turn a 4-point deficit into a 105-92 advantage. Up next for the Knicks, they'll visit Phoenix tomorrow to start a 4-game road trip. In Brooklyn, the Nets lost a 104-103 nail-biter to the visiting Orlando Magic. Michael Porter Jr. led Brooklyn with 34 points, and Igor Demon had 18. Up next for Brooklyn, they'll host the aforementioned Clippers tomorrow night. Triple header to look forward to on the ice tonight. All 3 local NHL squads back in action. The Rangers at 7 p.m. will get going at the Garden against the visiting Buffalo Sabres, as the Devils get going simultaneously in Pittsburgh against the Penguins, also at 7. And at 8 p.m., the Islanders will drop a puck in Nashville against the Predators. And the college football playoff picks up tonight, 7:30 p.m. kickoff between 10-seed Miami and 6-seed Ole Miss. The semifinal at the Fiesta Bowl for the right to play either Oregon or Indiana in the national championship game. That second semifinal between Oregon and Indiana is tomorrow night. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:48. The entire country dealing with these record number of flu cases. And in New York, a record high of flu-related hospitalizations have been reported.
The Manhattan District Attorney's Office says Kerry Ahern faces multiple charges, including attempted murder, assault, and endangering the welfare.
I don't think that has anything to do with flu. I don't know what story that is. All right, 5:49. We'll just move on. This is just a horrible story out of Queens. So a Queens man facing animal cruelty charges after an incident caught on video showed a driver dragging 2 dogs behind his car, all because apparently he did not want them to poop in his vehicle. Now, here was somebody who was behind him, who took his camera out, saw these dogs tied to the back of a car. I don't even know. It's hard to make out, but you can hear him sort of just outraged.
They dragging him with a back car, bro.
Yeah, so both dogs are recovering after the disturbing ride in Long Island City. The videos making rounds on social media shows these 2 dog leashes tied to the back of a Volkswagen. Both canines can be seen struggling to keep up with their owner as he drives down the street. This happened right near the intersection of 11th Street and 43rd Avenue.
I don't like that. It's upsetting for the dogs.
No, they definitely should be treated better. There's like a lack of education about, dogs and training and all that.
Yeah, so we looked at the criminal complaint. A witness saw the dogs being dragged down the road as 68-year-old Dan Bonjour drove the car. It wasn't until one of the dogs became unhooked that a witness grabbed them and put them inside his car. Police eventually caught up with Bonjour and arrested him. He's since been charged with 2 counts of animal cruelty, driving without a license. The ASPCA took control of the dogs.
One of the dogs did have some abrasions on her paw pads, which appear to be consistent with what was seen in the video of her being dragged behind the vehicle. Both dogs are in the ASPCA's care, and they are receiving both medical and behavioral care and doing well.
Now, again, apparently he told police the reason he was putting them on the leash behind the car is because he didn't want them to poop in the car, which is just outrageous and crazy. But what's sort of interesting, too, is this woman who runs a dog clinic in Queens knows this guy, Bonjour. She says he's adopted animals from her before, and she says he's a loving guy, so she can't figure out what's going on.
Anytime that I've seen him in the past, he cared for the dog, and the dog looks pretty well cared for.
Yeah, well, definitely he should not be given dogs again. 5:51, out to Long Island. A man accused of stabbing and killing a CVS worker on Christmas Day in Lindenhurst appeared before a judge yesterday. It was 23-year-old Edison Sine, who is known as Eddie. He was filling in for the day at the cash register at the CVS over the Christmas holiday. It was almost closing time when this 43-year-old John Palacio walked in. He stole a Gatorade, and then he tried to rob Eddie at the cash register. Well, Eddie fought back, and Palacio jumped across the counter and stabbed him to death. The district attorney alleges that Palacio was motivated by robbery and the fact that he was $25,000 in credit card debt.
Terrific. Your kid goes to work on Christmas and doesn't come home. So, I don't know how any parent could possibly deal with that.
Now, Palacio has 6 prior felonies, including one for a violent robbery 20 years ago, but he had been discharged from parole. Now he's facing first-degree murder, which carries a maximum sentence of lifetime in prison without parole. Eddie's family, well, they retained a lawyer because they say they want to investigate if CVS was doing everything it could do to protect him, especially on that Christmas Day shift.
Could CVS have done more to protect its employees?
We can walk into a CVS right now and I can't buy a bar of soap without asking someone at the front to unlock the product. Where's the safety and the protection for those who work?
In the end, it's just a horrible story. This 23-year-old dead just because he was working Christmas Day, taking somebody else's shift so they could be home with his family. A wake for Eddie going to happen today. His funeral is set for tomorrow. While we're out on Long Island, the MTA has rolled out this new policy that could cost LIRR riders an extra $8 if they activate a mobile ticket after they board the train. Now, the surcharge affects passengers who wait until they're on the train to activate their tickets. According to the MTA, data from July, 55% of mobile ticket users activate their tickets only when the conductor arrives. Now, you can guess why, because the thought is if the conductor doesn't arrive, I save money on my ticket, right? I don't ever have to open it. So now they say if your ticket is not open when the conductor arrives, or if it's not open before you even board the train, you'll get this $8, penalty. So riders see this surcharge, as another financial hit, which of course it is.
Do you activate before you board?
Yeah. Oh, well, now I do. I used to do it on the train, but now you can't do it anymore.
Now, that's a rider talking to News 12. The MTA says passengers who activate tickets on board will first receive a series of warnings before they're charged that $8 fee. Now, they wouldn't tell us how many warnings they'll get before they get slapped with the $8 fee, or even how they would impose this $8 fee. But apparently, if you get this $8 fee, you would not be able to buy future tickets until you pay it. Which, and I sort of get why people wait to, open up that ticket. You're like, hey, I can save on the fare for one day.
I think it's kind of messed up, man. Like, you already changed the prices, so why add on more price for another thing?
They're just trying to take more money.
Yeah, it does sort of seem that way. The MTA's new subway fare gates are drawing mixed reactions after several reported incidents. These are these new glass-like saloon doors that open and close to let riders in, and the idea is to stop fare evasion. But have you seen this video? There's one cell phone video on social media that shows with a woman with her head stuck between the two glass doors. I mean, it's sort of amazing. How did that even happen? Another guy got stuck in between as well and apparently had to be transported to the hospital. So everybody's saying, maybe this is not the right saloon type doors. Maybe these are not the right gates for the MTA.
Pretty simple. They open, you go through. How's it going to get caught?
It's really not safe. It doesn't look safe.
I think I'd rather people evade the fare safely than hurt themselves.
Yeah, so the MTA says the gates are one of 3 pilot designs being tested at 20 stations in the city, and the plan is to install the final design at 150 stations by the end of the year. We'll post that video on WABCRadio.com of the woman getting her head trapped between the saloon glass doors. It's hard for me to imagine how she was able to do that. Maybe she was trying to beat the gates. I'm not sure. Tickets for Broadway week go on sale today while reservations are being made made for Restaurant Week. It's all part of New York City's winter outing, which runs from January 20th to February 12th, with New Yorkers setting their sights on shows they're looking for deals on. So this is where you can get buy one, get one free, and then you can get a cheap meal beforehand.
Katie's Town, Wicked are both like two of my favorites. I love Maybe Happy Ending.
I'm dying to see Hell's Kitchen. That would be perfect.
Buena Vita Social Club, and I want to see Ragtime. Is that part of this?
For Ragtime, maybe Just in Time, perhaps?
Yeah, so more than 24 Broadway shows being offered. These 2-for-1 deals, Lion King, Book of Mormon, among some of the shows. Outsiders, Chess, they're on the list. Meantime, 600 restaurants across the 5 boroughs will offer deals, many of which will have these price fix menus, which, by the way, if you've never taken part in this, it's a great week to go out and try some more expensive restaurants because they'll be cheaper and you can see how everybody else lives.
Perfect, because my birthday is February 10th, so even better.
You spend as much buying groceries as you do paying for a meal, so why not? Why not take advantage of the perks of a restaurant giving you probably a 3-course meal for a set price?
Yeah, why not take it? So again, it begins January 20th.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?